So for cold calling, I would really say it depends on your personality profile because I always want you lead generating to your personality profile, period. The reason for that is if you don't lead generate to your personality profile, this business will become it will be no fun for you. Okay. And so if a person is a high SC or a CS on the disc profile, I don't want that person on the phones. Okay, I don't want that person cold calling. If they have a lot of D or they have a fair amount of D and they have some I in there, then cold calling is fine. Welcome to the Success with Listings podcast, where we help you get success in the real estate game the easy way. Now you can get off the roller coaster of feast and famine and out of the rat race of competing with every other agent in town. Hi, I'm Knolly Williams. I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in the real estate game, and in this podcast, I show you how to have success with listings. Let's go. Michelle, what's up? Hey, did we have fun or what? What's up?
Good day, Nolly. Yes, we always do. And
Yeah.
trust me, they're still asking for you to this day, for
I
sure.
I love my Ben network, my Ben family. It's just nothing but love. So, and I can feel it. We have,
Yes, it is.
Michelle crushed it. She had over 140 people register, over 140 register for that class. And it was off the chain I mean, they kept me an hour after class, y'all. But we had fun. We had a good time. We had a good time. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you have a lot of knowledge to drop. And like you said, it couldn't be all compacted into that 1 hour. And that's why, I'm hoping more of them were able to join the coaching club because it's so much more to learn.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And we're gonna have more AKA sessions. Paul and I love to do these, and I don't do them enough. So
Awesome. So on that note, because you just mentioned something, and I'm very curious to know that, because you're right with your one-on-one coaching, and now we have a little access to you. So, are our questions to be geared towards, just our real estate business overall, or are you wanting us to lock more into listings and what that niche market is for us, as far as real estate?
well, so to answer your question, I always like agents to focus on listings. And it doesn't matter what the market is. Okay. If it's a seller's market, listings. If it's a buyer's market, listings. You just need more of them. So listings is really always going to be the game. But on AKA, it doesn't matter. Like you can ask me anything. Like, man, what do you eat for breakfast? What's your favorite color? Dude, what'd you have? That kind of stuff. So you can ask me anything, literally like anything. And so for this, it could be because I do life coaching, I do spiritual coaching, life coaching, and business coaching and real estate coaching. I do all four coachings, types of coaching. So I've had other businesses outside of real estate and still do. So yeah, it's really anything.
Okay, that's helpful. No, because I just want to stay on target. Because we could be all over the place, right? Jack of all trades, talking about there's so much in real
Yeah.
estate. And I literally was having a conversation today about it. Like, Michelle, why don't you do this? I said, no, I have a specific niche market, a specific geo farm that I want to cater to. I don't want to be all over the place.
Exactly.
I know
That's
what
the
my
way.
price point is. I want to lock in on this, dominate that, and then move on to the next thing you know
Amen.
so I just want to
Amen.
make sure because I know they say in school there's no dumb question, but at the same time I like to stay on course and on topic as to what we're dealing with in front of us.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. And speaking of questions, just in general, the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. And even though, yes, there are no stupid questions, there a lot of times people ask questions because they don't know what to ask. And that's what we talked about in the class, last week, is that the new agents, they don't know they have a what problem. So they don't even know what questions to ask. You know what I'm saying? And so that is a big problem because a lot of times you'll be asking questions, you'll be getting answers and you'll get over, but you're really on the wrong road and wrong track completely, even though I'm answering the questions that you're asking. So part of my job as a coach, especially when I rely on the Holy Spirit, is to be sensitive to the question behind the question, and so I'm glad you mentioned that. Good point.
Yeah, that's because you're in tune, so you dig deeper to, like you said, the question behind the question. Like, where are we really getting to here? Can't just. in this question. So I like that. So I guess my one question that I want to ask, and I was going to put it in our school and stuff like that. I know you like for us to ask questions there too. As far as cold calling, so here goes a transparency moment for me. I have never in my life done cold calling.
Yeah.
Been interested in it. A lot of my business have come from referral or people finding me online, Google, social media, that type of thing. So now I'm like, okay, you're telling us we got to go do the two. So I am looking at potentially calling expireds for sale by owner. I'm trying to figure out what should I start with. I don't want to be all over the place. And if I do expired, for example, what time frame should I do expired for? Something that, if it expired last week, a million people are calling them.
Sure.
If it expired 2 years ago, maybe not so much. That might be a better chance. And would you call withdrawals as well? That was my other
Yeah, I do.
thing
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So for cold calling, I would really say it depends on your personality profile, because I always want you lead generating to your personality profile, period. The reason for that is if you don't lead generate to your personality profile, this business will become it will be no fun for you. Okay. And so if a person is a high SC or a CS on the disc profile, I don't want that person on the phones. Okay. I don't want that person cold calling. If they have a lot of D or they have a fair amount of D and they have some I in there, then cold calling is fine. Okay. The other thing you have to watch out for is the DNC list. So when you're working expireds, you want to make sure that you have a system that you use that will filter your leads. Something like RedX is a good one, or LandVoice is another good one. So RedX or LandVoice are both pretty good. You just figure out which one you like most. And what those systems will do is they'll aggregate the data from your MLS, and they'll pull it into into the database based on the criteria that you tell it. Like if you say, hey, I only want to work this area and this price point, then it will basically pull in those expireds and withdrawns. Um, and uh, and then it will also run those against the D&D list. Okay, so the DNC list, I should say. We're so used to dealing with D&Ds because I do a lot of email, but the DNC list, it'll run them against that. So if they're on the DNC list, then it'll delineate them and so on. Now they might have, because usually it's going to pull multiple numbers, and so they may have a number or two that's not listed on the do not call, which you could call. Okay. And the conversation with those, so personally, I like to call people that are now, and it depends. If you're a high D or high ID or DI, then you can call them right away. Okay. And you just know that you're in shark infested waters, and it's okay, it's fine. But if you're not a high D and you're more on the C scale or you're more on the S side, then you want to wait 30 days. And you want to only call people that have expired more than 30 days ago, because by that time, people have stopped calling them. And now it's sort of like the second wave, if you will. Okay. I'm so introverted that I would actually wait like 90 days even, but I did mostly, postcards and letters. And if I were to call, it was going to be more like, uh, especially if it was in my farm, I want that listing. Okay. So I just call and have dialogue with them with no expectation. It's like, hey, your property, obviously, your property went off the market. I'm pretty sure you've already been called by a lot of agents by now. It went off the market 2 months ago. And I'm absolutely sure that you're not interested at all in selling. However, if I were to bring a buyer, would you be willing to show your house still, or is that off the table? And then I just let them tell me, well, yeah, but do you really have a buyer? No, 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 I don't have a buyer right now, but you happen to be in my area. Okay. This is the area that I dominate. I'm just going to tell you. Okay. I consider myself the real estate mayor of that Woodland area. And you've probably seen me around. And the reality is, if there's a home that's a potential for one of my clients, I need to know about it. So what I need to know from you is if by any chance, if I were to come across a buyer or one of my colleagues, I've got we have almost 90,000 colleagues, and right here in the city, we have, over 1,000. So if one of my colleagues were to come across someone that would be interested in your house, would you be open to showing your property? That's just what I'm curious about. That's the kind of conversation I like to have with them. Because then it's kind of like it's indirect, right? And so then they'll be like, well, I mean, if you got a serious buyer, but they got to be serious. Okay, no problem. I get it. So now they're telling me that, yes, they do really want to sell their house. Okay, so that's all the information I need. So I say, look, here's what I'm going to do. And then I just take the conversation from there. I try to be able to drop off my pre-listing package, my book. And then, I put it in my off-market listings bucket. Okay. Because if you do expires, and eventually you'll have sort of like 20 or 30 that you've talked to that said, yeah, if you bring a willing, ready and able buyer, that they will be willing to show the property, but they're not going to list. I'm not going to list with nobody, but I will. Okay, good. So now you've got 20 or 30 sort of like off the market listings, and you kind of create another sort of niche business that way. And you have a lot of people that want to work with you, obviously be buyers, that we want to work with you from that standpoint. But so that's really my take on it. It really depends on your personality profile as to how you go after them. If you're high D, go after them the first 30 days. If you're not, wait like 30, or you could, even if you waited 90 days, it wouldn't matter, because, most for sale by owners are not going to list for 90 days. Okay. 30% of them will relist in 30 days. Another 30% will relist in maybe within the 90 days, but the other 40% will wait more than 90 days to relist. That's RedX data. Okay. They're the largest aggregator of expired data in the nation. So that would be my advice for you on that. What you want to, did you have any follow-up questions to that, Michelle?
Yeah. And so what you just mapped out for me basically would apply to expired listings as well as withdrawals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it depends on, because different states have different terms for withdrawals. So in our state, in Texas, when you withdraw a property, it just means that you decided not to sell it for whatever reason, or you fired your agent, whatever the reason is, and they withdrew the listing. Okay. Now, if it expired, that means it went through the listing term and it just rolled off. Okay. I work them both because we can, legally. Now, there's some that if it's on hold, that's different. You can't work those, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yes, I understand that.
Yeah, if
Okay.
it's on hold. Yeah, that's off limits.
Okay. And I'm a IS.
Yeah, I wouldn't have you doing cold calls. Yeah, I wouldn't. Um, I mean, so an IS has to have a reason for calling, okay? Because the high I wants to be liked, okay? They want people to like them, okay? And they're not gonna, if somebody curses you out on the phone, it's gonna kind of ruin your moment. Now, if you're spiritually evolved and you've done a lot of work, you can overcome any of this, right? You're reading books like Letting Go and The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. You've been doing a lot of work, but naturally, the way you're wired is that you do not like rejection. That's the number one fear of an I, is rejection. That's the number one fear. And then the S is steady. So that's a person that is more sort of like behind the scenes. Okay. So actually you're a Jekyll and Hyde. So you love your alone time. You like some book time like me. So you can be with the crowd and the party and everything, and people like you, you're likable, and you get your feel that way. But then you could be like, leave me alone. I'm off, kind of thing. So but a person like that is not gonna thrive doing cold calls long term. Yeah, because it's just not gonna feed your spirit. Yeah, and remember, there's so many strategies in this business that will succeed. It doesn't matter. You got to understand. I want you guys to hear me very well. Most books, most books are written to high Ds. I mean, and they're written by high Ds. That's why the strategies in most of the books that I read didn't work for me. Let me say it again. Most strategies that I read, I had to adapt to my profile in order to have fun, because I choose to make it fun and easy. And if you want to have a long career, you could as a high I, you could make cold calls and be successful, and have a damn good year, like you just crush it, and then you just don't do nothing for 2 years because you burn yourself out. You're not wired that way. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Success with Listings podcast. If you are serious about taking your real estate career to the highest heights, making more money and helping more clients while working less hours and spending more time with your family, be sure to get your copy of my free book, Triple My Listing, absolutely free at successwithlistings.com. Now, you want to be sure that you subscribe to the podcast and check out successwithlistings.com to get your copy of my free book. Hey, I'll see you on the next one.